Well, again, let's start off by first of all telling the folks exactly who is Ken Jennings.
Well, thanks for having me today. So, leadership. Grew up in southern West Virginia, appointed off to one of the service academies, and Air Force Academy, you're taught to take young men and women into harm's way. So I got kind of leadership from the ground up. Uh, Went off for a PhD eventually, where I focused on leadership, organizational performance. Business school professor, worked on Wall Street, managing partner in Accenture, as a global managing partner running leadership and change kinds of things. And along the way, wrote some short books.
Yes.
And apparently, the shorter the book is, the better it's done. So our current re-release of the Serving Leader is coming out in February because it's done well around the world and become I guess, a bit of a major bestseller.
Yes.
So Ken Jennings is someone that does leadership and organizational development in lots of organizations.
Yes. Well, again, welcome to the show, Ken. And yes, we're excited about this book. It's the 10th anniversary edition. It's been revised and updated. The Serving Leader: 5 Powerful Actions to Transform Your Team, Business, and Community. Ken, like we talked about, this is the 10th anniversary edition. So let's talk about the first edition. Let's talk about the impact that you've seen in business communities and how leaders have actually embraced it.
Well, I would say it was surprising to us. Serving Leader took a very contrarian approach to leadership. And instead of being in charge,
Yeah.
the leader is there to charge others up. So we wrote about the actions of leaders that, in a very contrarian way, put others first so they could better serve customers, help them break through barriers to performance. We put very concrete tools in the book to enable leaders to help others to be successful. And that got piloted and tried in some very big places, like the Cleveland Clinic, Johns Hopkins, a lot of healthcare places, and then in service organizations, manufacturing. And where the principles have been applied, there have been significant business success. So where you have business success associated with a particular approach, other people want to know about it.
Yes.
So the first edition had an impact, I think, because it started working in different places. And then our publisher approached us to, it's doing so well, let's revise it and get another version updated out to the world.
Yeah, and this updated version, I mean, you've got a foreword by Ken Blanchard, folks like him who certainly, of course, inspires leaders and talk to leaders all the time. Now, let's talk about this whole notion of serving others, the leader actually serving those people in which they partner, work with them. Where did you first get this notion and embrace it?
You know, it's interesting. Well, I certainly got it growing up working for my dad. He was a home builder and really served others. And then most people have a perception of the military as being very autocratic and top-down. Not my experience. I was embedded right away with the 82nd Airborne, was around special operations community, and there the expectation is that you really serve the men and women who work with you. You keep them alive, you keep them focused on mission, and you get them what they need to succeed. So I had a couple of very positive examples. When I went on to do doctoral work and research, I simply was able then to discover from a research standpoint what I already saw happening around me positively and what I knew in my gut to be an effective leadership approach.
Yeah. Now, the book is centered around 5 powerful, thought-provoking principles. Can you share those principles with us and talk about, unpack those a little bit more?
Sure. I mean, they are arranged in an upside-down hierarchy. The first is focusing on a great purpose. So a great leader is one that reminds everyone why they come to work every day, that what you do is important in making an outsized purpose happen. A second one is, we call it upending the pyramid.
Yeah.
And that has to do with getting your ego out of the way so that others can have ideas, others can contribute. The leader doesn't have to be the one that has the final say. Another one we call building on strength. Used to be the advice was to know your weaknesses and work on them. Turns out that's lousy advice. They're called weaknesses for a reason. You're not good at it.
Yeah.
The better advice is to focus on your strengths and help others to bring their strengths to the daily task of running to a great purpose. Another one was raising the bar. Leaders have high expectations of others, and they communicate those in various ways all the time. And people tend to live up or down to the expectations that they have of others, and it's a kind of an interesting effect. If you communicate low expectations, people live down to it. If you raise the bar with how you set goals and communicate that through one-on-one communication and coaching, it has a positive effect.
Yeah.
And the last action, I would say, is all around enabling others to perform, literally breaking through barriers that stand in the way of performance, breakthrough barriers, policies or cultural elements that stand in the way of others achieving. A great leader makes those invisible barriers to performance visible, and then drive right at breaking them down.
Man.
So those 5 actions, I think, have now stood some of the test of time all around the world as having an impact.
Yeah, yeah. And you've done your research to be able to show that, and you talk about that a great deal in the book. All right, Ken, this is more than just a book. This is an actual movement. And how do you see this movement taking place around the country?
Well, you know, it is. You're saying the right word here is a movement. There's a wave of serving leadership interest and application occurring around the world. It would have surprised everyone because we're used to the authoritative top-down leader. The movement is occurring because people are seeing the results. I would say, even more importantly, though, serving leader appeals to the hearts of those who want to make a difference for a greater purpose and treat people as legitimate others, not just use them as the hands or for their heads. Those that see others as legitimate embrace this and have created a movement because they feel like it's a more positive, asset-based, and humane way to lead.
Yeah.
You see this in the current political environment. You can tell who are the serving leaders from the self-serving leaders.
Right, absolutely. Well, Ken, you've certainly proven this there at Third River Partners, and in those organizations that you partner and work with, we've seen you do it. So I guess in closing, the final question that I would have for you is, if you'll finish this statement, it's not even a question, it's really a statement, if you'll finish this statement for me. Ken Jennings is a guy who, and if you'll finish that.
Who is driven to help leaders create results through the relationships they can form at home and at work.
Man. Very well said. Ken Jennings, thank you so much for speaking with us. Again, the book is The Serving Leader, 5 Powerful Actions to Transform Your Team, Business, and Community. Ken, thank you so much for your great work.
Thanks for your time.
All right.